Italiano word of the day for today, Friday, 7 June 2024, is Editore, which translates to English as publisher. And I thought this is a good thing to bring up because I've been observing different publishers for my notes on autobiography/biography and book/reading notes. Sometimes I talk about the construction of a book. And so the construction of a book depends at least partially on who the publisher of a book is. If a publisher does not have the abilities to print in a certain way, then one might not have the final product one's looking for. And so what is a publisher? A publisher is somebody who takes a product and makes it final and kind of releases it to the world. And that could be textual, it could be a book, it could be a peer-reviewed journal article, it could be a video sharing platform where people upload content they've made but then publish through a video platform, such as YouTube. I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, and this is my YouTube channel, Tanis Leonhardi, at least currently. So I make the videos, but then technically it's YouTube publishing, and sometimes people call it self-published content. However, it's more of being submitted and YouTube approves or does not approve, or there's stuff that happens down the road. And so thinking through the books, I've been reading a bunch of books and there's been a bunch of publishers, and I've read books before my current pulse of autobiography and biography reading as well. I've read books throughout my life. And one that I think stand out, so I was thinking through, I've talked about writing a bunch of biographies and or autobiography about myself. Is there any publisher and or publishers that stands out as one that I would want for the books I write? And that gets into a little bit of logistics. Can I get one book with a publisher? Can I get multiple books with a single publisher? That kind of stuff. Because if I have a publisher, I don't want to switch publishers. Some people do that. They publish like a first edition hardcover and then they change publishers, or they have sold a lot with one publisher, so they want to switch it up to see how it goes with another one, that kind of thing. I would ideally like one, no matter the number of books. So I was thinking, and I like the one for The Chimpanzee Whisperer on Stani Nyandwi. It was Arcade Publishing. I really liked that one. I really liked the feel of that book, the construction of that book. And it reminded me a lot, and it felt like a lot of the books I read growing up, which I enjoyed those books. There's more fancy styling and stuff that can be done with other publishers that I've seen, but I don't want the fancy, I just want the plain. So I like that one. I'd say, is there any criteria I have for a publisher? I think sometimes, well, a publisher, I would probably put number one is follow through. So if a publisher tells me they want to publish my book and it's 20 years later and nothing has come about, then it's probably not the publisher for me. Part of the responsibility of a publisher from my perspective is making sure a book comes into existence, or the book gets finished and published. Another one is, so if I move in with my boyfriend Josh Kerr and the squirrels go to a halfway house, so the SHH Squirrel Halfway House, or some people might call it a SS Squirrel Sanctuary. I've already told the squirrels, and I talked to them about the halfway house, and I'm like, one way it'll be good, and they're like, we don't want our mom to go away. So the squirrels go to the Squirrel Halfway House, Squirrel Sanctuary. I told them there'd be friendly humans for them to interact with, and consistent food. The red squirrels especially like the consistent food idea. And so, but I want a publisher who does not pull a contract on us. Like, a lot of people don't like squirrels, right? So I want a publisher that is accepting of and tolerant of us choosing squirrels as our children and to put resources into that and sharing our lives with them, and eventually us getting our dream house, and you know, be a nightmare if we move into, my boyfriend Josh Kerr and I get our dream house and the squirrels become indoor outdoor squirrels, even if there's periods of like they stay indoors for longer for whatever reason. If we go out one day and we come back and, you know, 20 of the squirrels have annihilated our sofa and there's like everywhere, we want a publisher who doesn't pull out because they don't think that's how the squirrels should act. Right? That's the kind of, there's personal life components that go into it, right? They don't want people to abuse the authority of being a publisher to try and alter or tamper with our life, kind of thing. And then I was also thinking, I also would want a publisher. So there's so let's say I decide to write, let's say 3 books at once, to see if that works. It'd be nice to have a publisher where I can talk to people about the books as I write them. So I was thinking of like just family discussions. So let's say I'm writing 3 books. So let's say it's my autobiography, a biography of Josh Kerr, and a biography of Editore Leonhardi. And personally, I think talking about all 3 at once is not necessarily necessary with my family. I would say I would probably focus on, like, if we're meeting up for whatever occasion, like my autobiography and my biography of Josh Kerr, the guy I'm living with. I think talking about all 3 would be overwhelming, personally, and kind of treat it as an experiment of, if I talk about this with my family, which for an autobiography or biography of Josh Kerr would be relevant because we're interacting in life, right? Interacting with my family and stuff, and it's partially their stories too. I think it would be appropriate. Sharing, but then kind of using it as a trial run if I were to do 3 books, just as speaking through that, it may not happen this way, but this is how I'm thinking through. Then with my autobiography and Josh Kerr biography, for those ones, talking about it to see if it actually improves the writing process or slows it down. Like, does it make it faster or slow it down? Does it, like, by having one that I'm working on kind of where I still talk about it, but not necessarily at family occasions, it allows me to see how, if at all, right, talking about stuff with family and friends, how if the writing process is affected, and if so, how, right? So taking that into account, because if it takes longer to write the books, then I'm like, well, maybe then I talk about 1 book and write 2 if I have a certain amount of time I want to get them done in, right? That kind of thing is they still and know about them, but like adjusting accordingly. And then for those 3 books, whatever I finish first, so there's 2 left, then introduce the Sarah Sjostrom biography. If those people are consenting and the publisher is okay with those people and that kind of stuff. But then tap it out and bring it in. And then maybe in that case, if the 2 we're finding is no problem, you're talking about the 2, then with Sarah Sjostrom coming in, depending on which one it takes the place of, right, then I might be talking about 3 books. And then if that's just way too much, way too overwhelming, then be like, okay, we'll stick with 1 or 2 books, because it's a lot for as the writer, kind of thing. So yeah, but having a publisher that would allow me to talk about it in advance. Yeah, that's something I would like in advance of the final product, and trust me to figure out what to talk about in advance and what not to talk about in advance. Yeah. But in English, publisher; in Italiano, editore.